Namaste. It's the spiritual day workout with your tarot card reading for this full moon. This full moon is going to be in Aries. So, Aries, it's double your energy, right? You're putting yourself out there. It's conjunct Chiron, so it's probably something that is, well, emotional, or rather, a thing that you've been working on for a very long time, and now you're ready to put it out there. Is like, well, this has always been embarrassing me, but now I'm over it and I can show you how I did it, how I overcame this obstacle. So it is a kind of a volatile energy, but it's essentially very positive, and putting yourself out there is going to be rewarded in a sense. We'll see how it is for you in your reading. This is a general reading though, so if the message doesn't resonate with you, feel free to drop the message. If it does, drop a comment, like, and subscribe. We're going to do the DNA spread, so that's the soul coming into manifestation, and around it, the energies balancing um, your experience. Now, let's see. In your soul spot, there's a Father of Swords. So your soul basically decided to be smart about stuff and decisive, and kind of take charge in an airy way, in a mind way, right? So the soul spot never has any bad cards. The soul spot, because the soul is always right, right? So the soul spot, the zero Keter, is what your soul decided, right? And your soul decided to show its true wisdom. That is a very beautiful thing. Now let's see how you're showing this wisdom. You're going through a challenge in the spot of the 9, which is the Ace of Swords. Very interesting. So you're bringing clarity and you're speaking the truth, right? Speaking the truth is in your challenge spot, but it's not in reverse, so you're probably going to do it, right? So let's see how you're speaking the truth, in what manner, right? In the spot of the manifestation, the spot of the 10, there's a 2 of Pentacles. Is it in reverse? In reverse. So it is dealing with change, making a decision for change that you're manifesting here. You're going to have to see in the clarifications and the energies balancing around it what exactly you're deciding on. It's not exactly an easy decision because it's delayed. You're probably going to need to address this one here first, right? So the truth has to be acknowledged, maybe spoken, probably, because it's an Aries full moon, right? So it's going to, you know, get out there, but it has to be at least acknowledged. So probably something around how you're doing things, how you're putting yourself in the world, right? Let's see. Let's see in the energies. In the spot of the 1, the thing that gets you going is judgment. Judgment. It is time. You have to adjust something in your life, right? Um, well, like judgment and justice is a little similar. Judgment is more with your um, with you yourself taking stock, trusting your own judgment, all of that stuff. Justice is a little more karmic justice, but both are close. I'm saying that because I use the word adjustment, and that is the Aleister Crowley term for, I believe, the Justice card, right? And this one getting you going, very interesting. That is longing for justice in a sense, right? So you want to set yourself free, just like on this card right here, setting yourself free from something. You know it is time to like be wise, put that wisdom into action, show yourself as the wise person that you are, right? Especially for an Aries, that's quite interesting because like you are impulsive and more playful, rather than wise in the sense of that like old, like gray-haired person, right? It's not exactly that. Um, it is the wisdom of how to use your own energy, right? The wisdom that playfulness, for example, is essentially like divine, you know. You have to tackle life in a playful way, right? It's a game in a sense, right? It's a game about life and death, but it's a game. And you're trusting your own judgment again, trying to set yourself free with the wisdom you gained about probably yourself and the way you're addressing truth. Um, we'll see. The spot of the 2 is what gives you balance in that internal struggle. and kind of takes a little out of that forceful energy where the judgment is coming in with in the spot of the one, balancing it. That is the Father of Cups. So it is about emotions for you. Could be tied to your father. However, this experience is definitely tied to the way of expressing emotions, right? Because the father is a mature masculine, so progressive, putting yourself out there kind of energy in water. So how you express emotions, right? And that is very interesting. So setting yourself free from the way your father taught you how to deal with emotions, which is most likely swallowing them and trying to control them. Well, that is not exactly wise, right? Because at a certain point you can't hold the water anymore, it's going to break, right? So you realize that there are emotional needs that need to be catered to, right? And that well, you can trust your own judgment and still have emotions. It is working. And how to bring those together is in a spot of the three. That, there it is, the justice card, the justice in reverse. So you realize by these energies, like you wanting to set yourself free from the emotionality, realizing that it's not gonna work like that exactly, that it's not exactly fair, right? And justice is about more than fairness, but especially in this, it talks about balance. It talks about the progressive, being on top of your emotions kind of energy, and the receptive, my emotions are valuable kind of energy, and bringing that together. And the realization that you're having, the wisdom basically, that you're bringing into this is, well, it has been out of whack. It has been out of balance, right? You have been looking at your emotions in a way that they have to be like, yeah, maybe expressed, maybe put into action or whatever, like you using them as a source, right? You're not trying to block them per se, but you're not really dealing with them either, or you haven't been, and now you're doing it. Now you're realizing there, I didn't do myself justice here because of the way I was expressing emotions, or I was taught to express emotions, and you're clearing that out. So the judgment card with the Father of Cups, well, it screams daddy issues, doesn't it? Right? Or it doesn't have to be the daddy, it can be the mother, whoever authority figure in your life showed their emotions either too much or too little. And that kind of impaired your balanced approach with how to handle emotions. And since you're coming from that sword energy right here, you're gaining some wisdom about this, right? So it's not exactly that you're all in your feels and like you just have to cry it out. It's not that watery. It's more like, fuck, that's why this always felt like that, you know? That kind of energy. That is what you're going to be in from the internal quarrel that you're coming from, right? When the father of swords, when your soul decides, I'm going to be wise now. I'm going to be a father of swords. I'm going to address it, And then what is to address? It's like you have to set yourself free from the way you've been expressing emotions, right? And because it was out of whack, because you didn't do yourself justice, you didn't do the people justice um, that were expressing emotions towards you, because they were expressing it in a way that you deemed wrong, that kind of deal, right? Now, this is the internal side, so it doesn't exactly have to be um, an external thing triggered by the outside, but it can be. So um, it feel like something is going to trigger that insight about a Father of Cups, right? And maybe even a Father of Cups. So maybe it's either someone that is showing their emotions too much or too little, right? So being all over the place, but it's not in reverse. So it's someone that is very in touch with their emotions if it's coming from the outside, right? And you rather see them as a good example on how to deal with emotionality, right? Being available and vulnerable, but not being weak about it, being very self-centered, and like no, self-sufficient in the way they deal with emotions, even though they take some time to process them. And that could be like a encountering someone like that, or encountering a situation where someone acts like that. You're like, that's also a way to go about it. I've been doing it all wrong, or like I could have done better in dealing with my own emotions because I'm worth it, you know. And you're gaining trust in your judgment again because you have those emotions, right? And you're working with them. Now let's see how you work with them in your challenge row, or surrounding that Ace of Swords. What is the truth that is coming together here? And the spot of the Four, the things that gives you stability and like a sense of security, there is a Two of Wands. That is fire energy picking a direction. The thing that gives you stability, well, it's kind of making a decision here, or like choosing a direction, right? Kind of get the sense though that it's you, that this Two of Wands energy is giving you stability, which is funny because in the Two of Wands, it urges you to pick a direction. So that kind of means that being able to choose gives you a sense of stability, right? So the freedom of choice gives you a sense of stability where you're like, I can always do what I want. Like I am the one deciding here where to go and what to do, right? So it's not exactly a decision that gives you stability. It is the freedom of choice that you have, like that you can redecide, make up your mind in a sense, and that you can always follow your passion and decide for yourselves, like a sense of freedom that is giving you a sense of security here. On the other hand, what is kind of causing conflict to erupt, or like friction, let's say, in the spot of the Five, there's a Ten of Pentacles. Well, makes sense because the Ten of Pentacles is a card for legacy and family, something durable, right? Something stable. And it's kind of opposing that Two of Wands energy, doesn't it, right? Because the moment you commit to a family, or like, let's say, responsibility for a legacy, for something durable, responsibility comes with commitment, right? And that commitment is not exactly leaving their options open. It's deciding for a way, right? And committing to that. And these sides battling within you, there's a truth to that to be acknowledged, right? So the more you commit, the more you also commit to the emotionality that comes with it, with that Father of Cups, right? You want to set yourself free and love that freedom of choice, but there is that truth in there that is gonna set you free, where you realize to gain stability, there has to be a sense of commitment to be able to get into that family vibe. And I don't mean like go get a family, whatever, like look for the significant other and start building. That's not what I mean. I mean like these energies are kind of like rubbing off on each other, right? Or like trying to balance, you know, within yourself. So realizing you are either free or responsible, and find your freedom in that responsibility, right? That was Friedrich Hegel, I believe, that said freedom in friendship or love can only be by you seeing their freedom as your freedom. So if they're free to choose and live and whatever, you find a sense of freedom in that because you realize it is your choice to commit to their well-being. Does that make sense? It's very philosophical, but well, per definition, it's a Friedrich Hegel. But, and I'm not a fan of Hegel, but that's one cool thing he said. He was quite an asshole, actually. Now, whatever. These sides are kind of battling each other within you. Where I'm like, yeah, I want to be free, but cannot be free with tying myself down. Like, well, you have to flip it. And it seems like you're not deciding for it now, even though there is a decision to be made. And it's not exactly about family. It can be about anything that needs commitment, and you're coming very much from that how to deal with emotions kind of wisdom. It's interesting. Let's see what you're manifesting to go through these energies right here. In the spot of the 7, well, you're seeing the world as a challenge, which is kind of cool. I mean, like, you're an Aries, right? So you're the fire energy that challenges and that overcomes challenge, right? You're just pushing through. So it makes sense that you're attached to the idea that life is a game that needs to be beat, right? Trying to beat the system here. That is the Wheel of Fortune in reverse is like, I'm not going to wait for some good news to come in. It's not going to be good news anyway. I have to make that good news myself, right? Especially like in the spot of the 7, because the 7 is the number for a strong sense of identity, which comes through attachment, right? And you're attached to the idea that life in general is like throwing stones your way, right? And you're kind of like that, right? You kind of, it's not a bad thing per se. You just think like, well, life's just life. Life is hard, so you got to be harder than life. That kind of attitude. Let's see. Well, this takes you into singularity, into individuality, the strong sense of self. It's okay, cool. But what gives you abundance then really like gets this law of attraction going. In the spot of the 8, there is the Fool. That is that new beginning. That is a chapter, a totally new chapter in your life. And, well, you have to make a decision for change for that, right? That is very interesting. That the Fool and the Wheel of Fortune in reverse are working together here. The Wheel of Fortune gets a slight, like a slightly different connotation, Well, no, not exactly. I mean, like, you still think life is something to overcome, and I got to move into a new direction. If it doesn't suit me, if it's out of balance, whatever, right? I got to move into a new direction, right? I want to do it differently than whatever father or mother figure was sharing their emotions overly. Is you setting yourself free from injustice in your life, or something that is not exactly balanced in your life, and it ties into that feeling of freedom and commitment, like a little, like, not exactly commitment issues. I mean, like, you can commit to freedom. Does that make sense, right? So if you commit to a career, it doesn't exactly have to tie you down in one place, but you're set on that idea, whatever, right? Um, but it seems that you're changing that idea, because that Fool is also, it's upright, so you are making, and, well, it's in the diagonal to the Judgment, because, like, you are setting yourself free, going into a new direction. That means, well, new job, new people, new life, a new basis for your life, a new truth you live by. Can be anything, and it's probably more than just one thing, right? Because the Fool is a new chapter. It's closing out, or is like a new beginning of something that is going to be there for a long time, and it has to do with your long-term happiness. And if that sense of freedom and flexibility is what's making you happy, well, then that's what you're going to set in stone. That's what you're going to focus on, right? Let's see, with that totally new beginning that you're going through, and that idea of having to overcome, having to generate that good news yourself in your life, that's why you're like, you know what? I'm going to do something new. What are you learning from this? What is your insight? In the spot of the 6, that is the thought that, well, elevates your experience, the thought that makes you feel good, right? Where you're like, okay, that's why. Cool, right? That kind of. well, I don't know if it's cool per se, but it's like it's an epiphany, right? Let's see. It's a Ten of Swords in reverse, which is cool, actually cool. You're coming from a Father of Swords, right? You want to be wise, and you realize that wisdom doesn't exactly lie in the mind, not always, not solely, right? So Ten of Swords is a card for overthinking, or rather realizing that the mind only can take you so far. At a certain point, you got to rely on things like intuition, right? Or, well, deal with stuff that is very earthy, for example, whatever. But you're realizing from with that Fool and that Wheel of Fortune kind of energy, you realize like you thought enough about this, you just have to start, which is cool because that's your way of doing it, right? It's just like getting stuff going. It's getting stuff going. So the moment you realize, and it's in reverse, so you're like, you're still coming from that Father of Swords energy. You're still very much in your mind about it's like, what do I do now? What's the next step? How do I work with this? Right? I want to get I want to be open to emotionality, but I want to get this right, and and blah blah blah. You realize you have to make a decision if you want things to change, right? You have to be open to change, and usually is not such a problem for you. In this case, it's a big step, though. It is a really big step that you're making to set yourself free here, and that injustice that you're working through from the inside, like something didn't do you justice, and like judging from your own energy. It's fire energy, it's the impulse of the creator, right? So whoever is in the way is going to get burned, and most likely a water energy. Like, you do get along well with the flow of water, right? You're like, well, because water is also kind of impulsive, right? But in a different way. It's like, I gotta feel that now. I gotta sit with it. I gotta express it, right? And with that will to express, you can very much align as an Aries, right? So that's a cool thing. But somehow, how it was expressed in the past, whatever, didn't you exactly justice, didn't do you justice, was a little out of whack. And you're realizing something about that, how it made you choose freedom over happiness, in a sense. It's not exactly the same, but it's like how you chose freedom as your Ten of Pentacles, as your go-to happiness, your go-to happy place. Is like, you know what, I can always leave this shit, I can always redecide. I'm committed to myself here because it makes me happy. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And I don't see you getting tied down in any way, not with the Fool underneath that. Maybe you're working towards a Ten of Pentacles where you're like, actually, I want to build something that is lasting a little longer than it used to be. I want to mature, in a sense, grow up, whatever, but that new beginning is for your Ten of Pentacles. That new beginning is for you, like that idea of building a legacy, in a sense, right? But there is a decision you have to make here that is not exactly easy for you, and it's probably to leave that Father of Cups behind. Not exactly behind, maybe I still get that Father of Cups is kind of like, it's upright, so it's a good Father of Cups. It's a beautiful energy. It's someone sharing love and sharing emotionality. It's not that they're exactly lashing out, but I feel it's not exactly sitting right with you. And in that moment, you're taking on that energy where you're like, you know what, this is not feeling right. Well, that's you being a Father of Cups, you know. So it's funny, like, even if that is a person in your life right now, or it's probably a person in your life that is representing someone from the past. You know, it's the same kind of energy you're encountering. You're realizing, you know what? Hey, I actually don't feel so well with this. I want to set myself free by incorporating that energy, right? By like bringing that into balance. When I'm like, you know, I have to be smart about this. I'm not feeling well, so I have to do something about it, right? I'm glad that I can always pick a direction. Find my freedom and find my security in being free. But I have to address that truth, and that's a sort of justice also right here, right? So that truth you're addressing is that injustice, that energy being out of balance. And it's still like, it's something that not exactly hurt you, well, sort of, right? But it takes me back to that Chiron conjunction energy where you're like, you're feeling injustice or realizing something about injustice, being faced with setting yourself free from a water energy. And you are an Aries, you are fire, right? So it's gotta somehow grind your gears in a way. And you're realizing a profound truth, something that's gonna change your mind forever. Because that Ace of Swords is in the middle of it all, and you're setting yourself free into a new beginning, trying to turn that Wheel of Fortune around. Maybe that, right? Maybe actually challenging your view of the world, that the world is a challenge. But well, it is, right? But that's not, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be stuck on that thought, right? The funny thing is that the Father of Cups, like your water energy, makes a decision to go into a new direction because you want to set yourself free to go for what you desire with the Ten of Pentacles, and you're encountering that Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, well, you're seeing in your reality that it's not matching, that you're waiting on that, you're waiting on that good news to come in and be like, here's something you can hold on to, here's some like family vibe or like some stability for your life, and it's not exactly coming, right? You have to find that stability in yourself, in your freedom. And that's when you realize, you know what, I gotta use that freedom and move into a new chapter. What I do see though, if you're making that decision from a mind's perspective, you're gonna stress with that decision, right? It's not exactly smart. Whatever it is you want to do, it's not exactly smart. It is a decision for change. It doesn't seem smart to you, but it's wise. And that's a different thing, right? It's not about being smart. It's about being wise. Like, I really see only positive energy right here. And all the negative, or there's no negative cards in tarot, right? The only thing is that injustice, which speaks more about karmic balance, or like the balance of the fire and the water for you. So that's fine. And since you're in your mind from that, like, you're realizing something about that. It's not that you drown in a sea of emotions. It is, you realize what you need to address for that new beginning to take place. In the end, deciding for change. Well, you have a Two of Wands, that you very much like right here, but you're manifesting a Two of Pentacles in reverse, which is trying to translate that Two of Wands into the physical. And it's not exactly that easy because you're holding on to that idea that the world is something to overcome, right? So you want to do what you want to do, and now putting it into action is not exactly easy because you're still on that mindset that it has to be a challenge. Yeah, well, when you think it has to be a challenge, it is a challenge. It's going to be, right? And that's what you're trying to turn around here. Like, you have two ways to go about this. Either I'm doing it anyway, you know, or the, you know, it's going to work out fine, right? Which is, you can combine it, right? You're going to do it anyway. I mean, that Fool is upright, even though that Two of Pentacles is like, okay, so how do I go about it, right? You know what, like, I know in what direction I want to go, like what I want to build, right? But how do I build it? What's the next step? What is like the actual career choice or whatever? Or okay, now I know a career choice. Who am I writing to? What do I have to do for that, right? Well, you're a newbie, and whatever it is you're trying to do, you're new to this. So like, cut yourself some slack. You're not gonna know it all from the get-go. But what you're going to know is what you want to achieve with this, and that coming from a place that is very much more balanced than before in terms of how you feel about all of this, how you feel about generating a legacy, not exactly being tied down, but building something. If you want to build something, you're committing to it, right? Where you want to build it already, right? That's already a commitment, you know, and for how you plan it and whatever. So it seems like you're encountering some adversity that is gonna, like, this is minor. It's minor. That Fool feels good, right? So that Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Swords in reverse with that Two of Pentacles in reverse in your manifestation, that kind of leads me to believe that you are triggering yourself from the outside, right? So that you want that new beginning because you thought enough about it and you have to start somewhere. But now, where exactly do you start, right? It's like you kind of made up your mind and now you want to put it into action and it's still not exactly happening. The energy is kind of delayed because why? Because there's some truth to be addressed about why you're doing it, and that is influenced then by the upper row, by how you're setting yourself free from emotions, or how you're trying to evade them. It's kind of tied to each other, right? And you realize that a little has been out of whack. So with facing this new beginning is going to realize what you need for that, and what you need for that is not exactly in the physical, but it's about that balance. Also talking about balance right here with the Justice and the Two of Pentacles, it's tied, right? You need to restore that balance, why you're doing it, how you feel about it, and how you utter those feelings. That's cool. That's really freaking cool. That Fool, though, it is a new beginning, right? And since we're moving up to eclipse season on 25th, that's probably when the old chapter is going to go, when the new chapter is going to begin. And in those 2 weeks leading up to that, you're going to gain that wisdom by realizing something about this Father of Cups, about how to properly deal with emotions, also of other people, and how this emotionality impacted your inner world in terms of some part of you wants something lasting and stable, and the other part of you wants to be free and decide for themselves and whatever. But now the combination of both is that you have to you're finding that truth and that clarity about yourself. It's like, oh, actually, the fact that I can choose, that I have the freedom of choice, is giving me a sense of stability. Now, how do I combine this in my new path? How do I, like, maybe I'm committing to a job where I can travel a lot, for example, right? And make my own decisions and like build my own business, whatever, right? So there is a commitment. There are things you need to do and set right and whatever, weighing your options, which way to go. Like you have to make that decision, right? And you have to make it yourself. Like freedom comes with responsibility for yourself, right? So and that's exactly the thing, right? Security and freedom kind of stand in each other's way because, well, if you have the responsibility, you're not exactly secure, right? So the only sense of security or safety or um, there's a third word I'm missing here, certainty, um, it has to come from within. It's that feeling of certainty that you can always rock it around, that you can always like rely on yourself. And you're gaining clarity about that when taking on this new beginning. And there is something tied to how you express yourself emotionally, and you're gaining some wisdom about that. So very much see the Chiron here more like this always bothered me and it doesn't anymore. How did I do that? And then you share that with other people, how you overcome this anxiety from way back in the day, or this habit from way back in the day. It's going to make you feel really good about yourself, going to make you feel like very capable to start this new beginning, no matter what's in your way, whether the universe is working for you or not. It doesn't matter for you at that point because you just know you have to move. You feel it in your gut. You're not overthinking anymore. The only thing is, like, you're kind of weighing your options here, trying to restore balance before you can move. And this one is tied to what's happening inside you. So you're facing with that. You're faced with weighing your options for a new beginning, and in that process, you're realizing something about that balance within you, right? But it's very much tied to your sense of freedom and security, kind of having to be balanced and come together in a sense of clarity. So that clarity about what you truly want and how this has to look is coming in through this adversity you're facing with this new beginning. So that is a very beautiful thing, Aries. Um, there's a lot in there, but it's a lot shifting. It's like these two levels where like you want something new, you then realize why you want something new and that it's not exactly clear, and then you realize why it's not exactly clear. You balance that out, you get clarity on what you want, and you can forward this new beginning. So this is how it goes basically up and down for you, right? These energies. Very beautiful energy. Aries, um, if you're still in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that resonated with you. If it did, drop a comment, like, and subscribe. Check out daywalker-bali.com, daywalker-bali.shop. There's a lot of stuff happening. Also for me, a new beginning, right? I'm trying to make it work and all that stuff. And yeah, thank you so much. I love you.